Shalom, I'm Jessie Shesla with the Jewish Federation of Sarasota-Manatee. I'm here today with one of our local Holocaust survivors, Rifka Glatz, along with her daughter and grandchildren. We're talking today about legacy and the importance of learning and understanding family history so that stories such as the one you'll hear today can be passed down from generation to generation, lador vador. So Tammy, thank you for being here. Tell me about the first time that you learned about your mother's Holocaust story, and when you heard it, how important was it for you to pass it down to your children?
I really don't ever remember not knowing. My mother has been always open about her story and the family's history. As a young girl attending a Jewish day school, I felt very confident in my Jewish identity and learning Jewish values. And as I grew up, I realized that I very much wanted to continue the legacy and make sure that my children attended a day school, which they all have, and to learn the love of Israel and about our history as a people, to pass down to generations the story of our past in order to help us with our future. My mother has been a loving and very open person about the traumas and the struggles that she has endured. And through all of that, she was able to pass on to me and to her grandchildren a love of traditions, a love of Israel, a love of Jewish values. And it very much was important to me and was always on the forefront of my mind to have a Jewish home, to marry a Jewish man, and to make sure that my children know who they are and where they came from.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Matthew, Alex, and Emma, what does it mean to you to know the incredible story of your grandmothers?
Well, ever since we've been in younger grades, we've known about the story of the Holocaust, and through the years we've learned more generally about what the Holocaust was all about and the lessons of the Holocaust. And we soon learned our Tata's story, Rifka's story, and she came to come to speak to our classes and to impart her wisdom and her lessons about the Holocaust. And that really gave us sort of a personal moment with her, a personal connection to somebody in the war, which helped us really put it all in context. And it also helps us sort of be inspired. She's taught so many kids over the years throughout all of our grades. And it means a lot that she's sort of helping the next generation pass on the stories of the Holocaust and her unique story, which is very impactful for each of us.
Yeah, to second that, and to more importantly, second what my mom said, I don't really remember a time where I didn't know my grandma's story. She was always very open with us, sharing every minute detail about her story, and it was really important for us to hear that. Obviously going to a Jewish day school and learning about the Holocaust and how it affected our people as a whole, but then to have that personal connection with my grandma was even greater. And just to see like what she's done, she's taken it upon herself to really spread the word about this, like we say, on Yom HaShoah, and always like never again. And she's not just sharing her story with Jewish people, but with people of all backgrounds and races, etc. Going to public schools in the area, sharing her story with them, because and more importantly now, when you look at what's happening in our world, with all the anti-Semitic acts here in our country and also abroad, we can't. This is how the Holocaust started, and to have someone like my grandma and all the other survivors who are open about their story, talking about it to the youth like us and all around, it's really important, and it just sheds a light on what we went through as a people, and it just adds that personal connection, which makes it so much more impactful to me and my entire family.
Just to add on to what both of them said, I don't think I've ever learned anything about the Holocaust where my grandma wasn't always in the back of my mind. I remember growing up always learning about stories and history at school, and just knowing that I know someone that's so close to me that I love that went through those things. And I think that what's really important for especially teenagers today is to not really rely on your history class or your school curriculum to teach you about these events. And so, like both of my brothers said, having that personal connection and the personal piece really makes it that much more impactful. So I think it's really important to listen to the stories of people who actually went through this if you have the opportunity to. And having someone that's so close to me that went through all of that is heartbreaking to hear, but very special and unique to be able to hear that just from her own experience.
Thank you, all three of you. And Rifka, you choose every day to tell your story, no matter how difficult it may be to relive it. And a story that gets passed down is also about a physical manifestation of that time, your mezuzah. Can you briefly tell us that story?
Well, we went through Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, and the three of us, my brother, my mother, and I survived. And my father was murdered in forced labor camp. When I was ready to get married, my mother came to me and said, Rifka, I want to give you something from our home in Hungary. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, what do you have from Hungary that I haven't seen or haven't, we brought nothing with us. We had a little backpack, with the bare essentials, dishes that we can eat with, and a little toothbrush and a little pillow and a little blanket, and that's it. I mean, what could you have brought? And I said, I'll show you, I want you to have it. And she walks out and comes back with a rolling parchment, 5.5 inches long. And I look at it and I open it and I see that this is the content of the mezuzah. I said, Mom, tell me about it. She said, when I knew that they are coming for us and they will be taken away from our home, I took the mezuzah off the door. I took out the parchment and I sewed it into the lining of my coat. And I want you to have it. And when I know that one of these days you'll have a home and you will put it up. I was so touched. First, because she chose me to have it as a daughter. I have an older brother. And I took it. And really, when we bought our first home in Potomac, a rabbi friend bought me a casing for it. And he came and helped us dedicate it and hung it in the living room. I was afraid to put it on the outside door because it was very large. And I was worried that if somebody decides that he doesn't pass by the house and didn't like it, they will knock it down and the parchment will disappear. So I hung it on the inside of my house. And years passed and my beautiful daughter got married to a wonderful guy and whom I love like a son. And I said, and of course they brought these 3 beautiful kids to the world, which is the biggest treasure that a grandparent can have. And I cherish them dearly. And I ordered a new casing from Israel, a silver casing. And I handed it over to the next generation, to my daughter. And we hung it inside her house too also. So it's preserved and it's beautiful and it's hanging here. And one of these days, the kids will share it when they will have a home and they will get the mezuzah and it will go probably from generation to generation. That's my hope. And I know that it was important for them to learn about it. And, I speak in the schools in Sarasota. And I feel that's my obligation, as difficult as it is, but it's my obligation and I need to do that. It's very important that the children in schools will learn about it. And that's the story that I have about the mezuzah.
Well, Rifka, I can hear that story 100 times and it never gets old. I always love listening to you talk about it. I want to thank you. Thank you, Tammy, Matthew, Alex, and Emma. Your family is such a beautiful representation of Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you for taking the time to tell your incredible story.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. Nice seeing you.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Have